Radhe Krishna, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Srimate Ramanujaya Namaha. Welcome to the 10th episode of the Bhakti Secrets of the Lady of Tirukkolur. The Lady of Tirukkolur effortlessly shifts her focus now to an incident from the great epic Ramayana. Her verse to Swami Ramanuja is, "Did I get touched by the footstep of the Lord like Ahalya Devi?" Ahalya Devi, she was the wife of sage Gautama. She was well known for her beauty, and equally she was a chaste and a virtuous woman. Now Lord Indra, he was attracted by Ahalya and wanted to marry her. Sage Narada, he sensed Indra's evil intentions, and instead he wanted Ahalya to get married to sage Gautama, who was leading an ascetic life. So he threw open a contest that whoever encircled the earth in the fastest time would be eligible to marry Ahalya. So all the devas and the rishis, they started on their journey to tour the world. But sage Gautama was very clear. He never had any intention to marry Ahalya, and he was leading his life in his ashram. At that point in time, there was a cow in his ashram which was giving birth to a calf. So this is regarded as an auspicious event, and sage Gautama circumambulated the cow, delivering the calf thrice as a matter to revere the cow. Now sage Narada took that as equivalent to encircling the entire world, and he declared sage Gautama as the winner of the contest. Thereby, sage Gautama was eligible to marry Ahalya. Again, sage Gautama was not intending to marry her, but finally sage Narada convinced him to enter into this marriage. Thus, the sage and Ahalya Devi got married, and they were leading an ascetic life in his ashram. Now, after this marriage, there was one person who was not at peace. That was Indra. He was upset. He was terrible that he couldn't get to marry Ahalya Devi, and he hatched an ugly plan to somehow get involved with Ahalya in a physical way. So he sees the right opportunity, and at a particular point in time, when sage Gautama is not in his ashram, Indra takes the form of sage Gautama, and he approaches Ahalya and expresses his desire for physical intimacy. Now Ahalya knows her husband very well, the intentions and the timing of the request. So she knew that there was something wrong, and through the power of penance, she could understand that it was Indra in her husband's form. So what she did was even more amazing. So with her power of penance, she could create a shadow version of herself, or Maya Ahalya, and sent her to Indra. So Indra was satisfying his desires with Maya Ahalya, and at that point in time, sage Gautama came to the ashram. He was furious to see Indra in his ashram and engaging in prohibited acts, and that's why he was very furious, and he cursed Indra that he would go impotent and he would have 1,000 eyes over his body. It would be an ugly sight. Basically, Sage Gautama was not happy with the lack of self-control or self-restraint which Indra displayed, and his unlimited desires. So with this curse, what happened to Indra was he went into an isolation mode, because in his ugly form with 1,000 eyes over his body, he couldn't go and meet the people in his kingdom. At the same time, Sage Gautama also cursed Ahalya Devi to go invisible to the world, or in some versions of this story, it is also said that she was converted into a rock or a stone form, and she was also blessed to do devotion and would be liberated by Lord Rama in the future. Fast forward to the Ramayana era, where Lord Rama, Lakshmana and sage Vishwamitra were en route the kingdom of Raja Janak, or Janakpuri as that place is called, where Raja Janak was holding a Dhanur Yajna. So when they were passing by that route, Rama saw this ashrama of Sage Gautama. It was in a deplorable condition, in bad quality, because there was no one to maintain it these days. Yet Rama could feel the positive vibrations and the sanctity when he was passing by. So he stopped there immediately and asked sage Vishwamitra as to who was the owner of this ashram, why it was in such a deplorable condition, and why he could still feel that positivity when he was just moving around the ashram. That is when sage Vishwamitra explained in detail about sage Gautama, Ahalya Devi, Indra, and whatever happened along with sage Gautama's curse, and that Rama in this avatara had an important mission to liberate Ahalya. So Rama was overjoyed to hear this. He just stepped into the ashram, and the first thing that his feet touched was a stone. And no guesses, it was Ahalya in that form. And the moment Lord's feet touched that stone, Ahalya regained her original form, and it was a marvelous sight for everybody. Sage Vishwamitra, he was so happy to see this transformation, and he explained Rama that he was able to see Rama's powerful shoulders when Rama was battling and killing the demoness Tadaka, and he could see the power of the Lord's feet at this point in time when he liberated Ahalya of the curse. So glories to the feet of Lord Ram, but even greater glories to Ahalya Devi, who highlighted the power of the feet of Lord Sri Ram. So at that point, sage Gautama also came to the ashram, and Lord Rama prostrated before sage Gautama and Ahalya Devi, thereby elevating Ahalya Devi to the status of a mother. So the lady of Tirukkolur explains this incident, and she benchmarks herself with the devotion of Ahalya Devi. So what she says is, Ahalya Devi had that power to force Lord Rama to come to her place and bless her and liberate her of the curse. In this case, Tirukkolur lady never did such devotion, and in fact she is doing the reverse. She is in fact leaving this divine place, this divine land, the divine Lord, and that's why she has no right to stay in this place and to experience the bliss. So she requests Swami Ramanuja not to stop her from leaving this divine land. So that was today's story. What implications or what are the learnings it has for our life? We'll spend some time on that. So it's not difficult for anyone to get in this kind of a situation which Ahalya Devi was in. We see that in a lot of circumstances, people may not be at fault really, but yet they are the center of criticism, of blame game, and naming and shaming. We can go on. So when this happens, we also see that people react by either fighting back, arguing, or they may play the blame game on the other person, or there are circumstances when people are not able to tolerate this, handle these situations and the impacts it has on their life, and unfortunately end their life. That is the saddest part. Now, what does this story teach us, or how can we think differently in this case? Now, Ahalya, when faced with this situation, she turned into a stone. So, even we can try and turn into a stone, which means we can look inward, we can get that power of positivity through devotion, build our inner strength, and shut down our mind and ears to all those critics. Now, it is very difficult for us to stop the people from blaming or criticizing or finger pointing. But what is in our control is definitely our response and reaction to such criticisms. It all depends on how much value we place on those critics or on those words and what impact it can have on our life. So, to develop an essential response and reaction to such critics and such fault-finding people in these days is a very crucial soft skill which we must build upon. And this story of Ahalya exactly teaches us an alternative path to arguments or any kind of blame game which we may enter into. So it is very much possible to win these situations by thinking differently. So win these situations and win life. So that was the message from the 10th Bhakti Secret. Thank you for being with us. Stay tuned for the 11th Bhakti Secret in our next episode. Radhe Krishna. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Shrimate Ramanujaya Namaha.